So today I'm doing a video on how I add ruffles to my bloomers or my diaper covers. So I'm making a romper today and I'm going to add ruffles to the back. So this was the first one I did. It's black. I used my ruffler foot to ruffle my ruffles, which is what I'm going to show you. But this one has the ruffles really close together. This one has the ruffles a little more separate, the rows a little more separate, and this one that I'm doing, they're going to be significantly more separated for this ruffle bottom. So as you can see, I use my ruffler foot, and I have a Bernina, so this is the ruffler foot that I use. I've learned a few things along the way, and I'm going to share that with you today. So first of all, how do I know the setting on my foot? Well, I used to have this mathematical equation to calculate, and I still would get it wrong. So I ended up just always cutting a piece the exact length of my piece and then ruffling it, seeing if it measured the right for my bottom part of my romper. And if I didn't, I try again, adjust this. So that is actually the only way I've figured out how to make it work, so I don't waste the most time and I don't have to be calculating and trying to get it right or wrong. So my second tip is I always cut the width of the pattern, but the length of it, I always try to do it longer. But in this case, I actually ended up running out of material, so I had to cut it the exact length of the pattern, I believe, and it's just not enough for me to play around and make it easy on me and add extra ruffles. So that's why my ruffle is so much wider on this one. Usually I just like to cut the entire length of the fabric and ruffling that to my desired liking of ruffles and then attaching it and adjusting there. But in this case, that wasn't it. I have limited amount of fabric. So this was my tester. I ran it through. I measured it against the bottom of my romper and it fit, so that's what I went with. Second tip, my ruffle, I've already done the edges on it. I've already stitched them, and I always fold the top over so that it's a nice crisp finish. So the one thing that I have figured out is that if I serge my edges on my ruffle right here and then I go ahead and I ruffle, I actually have problems with my ruffler foot. So I don't do that anymore. I don't serge the ends anymore. I just fold it over and I will try to ruffle it kind of like exactly below it because it likes the thinner fabric more than the double fabric. But every so often I'll clip the top double, and you can tell it's not such a smooth method, but I mean it still works. It still works. You don't want to ruffle it so low that it's down here and then this just kind of flops up, and that's actually what happened to one of them, was that I ruffled it all the way sort of down here and this whole area was a mess. So I'm gonna do it again. So here I am, this is my ruffle. I just fold it over, push it through my foot. Always put my foot down, and I'm going to start. So here is my ruffle, all ruffled. And this is my third one, and you can see this is the one that I messed up on because I had to unstitch all of it. So I'm going to run it through again. Okay. here's my last third one, all ruffled. And here I have already gone ahead and I have already done my lines of where I'll be adding my ruffles. I don't know if you could see it, 1, 2, 3. And you always want to add the ruffle to the bottom one, not the top line, because otherwise you'd have to be pushing the ruffle up every single time. It's just easier. So a lot of people will probably pin them down. I feel like I don't need to do that so much anymore. So take that foot off. Pull my threads a little. Insert my foot again. And then I can start. So I just line it up to the line, like so. I'll push this a little more towards me. And it's pretty easy once you've kind of cinched it in place too. And my stitch length is fine. And just keep an eye that the top of your ruffle matches the marking on your back piece. Okay, and the first one has been added. Now the second one's gonna go in. Pull all of my threads back. Keep it like so. So that's the second ruffle going in, and now the third ruffle. And I feel like the third ruffle is the most important one because this is the one that's going to be visible. The stitch lines at the top, so that's the one I want to be the most careful with. and I try to stitch on top of my stitches that I did from ruffling it. Sometimes if my ruffle stitches are wide enough, I can just take them off, but since they're so small in this case, that I just want to kind of sew right above them. Because I'm not going to go through and unstitch those stitches. If they were like at a 5 and a 1 setting, also of a wider stitch, I could easily remove them, but not in this case. Okay, so there are my ruffles on my romper, the back, and it is going to, you can tell, to be different with each one. So this is one of the finished rompers, and you can see the difference. Let me push this back. So with these ones, you can see how far apart they are and how wide the ruffle is because I didn't have as much material. On this one, you can see how tight the ruffles are and how close they are to each other. And on this one, also same thing. Definitely a tighter ruffle. And they were also a little closer together than these ruffles were for this romper. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this romper, and I'll show a picture at the end of what it looks like. But that is how you would add ruffles to the bottom of a diaper cover or a romper. Thanks for watching. I hope it helps.